Now, you are an American Legion rider, which means you ride your motorcycles in support of American Legion programming. I think that's youth program. You also have been the National American Legion chaplain.
Yes.
And so I think you can speak to us and share from your experience in two lanes, if you will, the rider lane as well as the chaplain lane. So thanks for joining us this morning, Chaplain Mark Antal. Antal, right?
Antel, like go Antel? That's
yes.
what I do.
Antel. You know, I practiced that last night. I'm like, gosh, I know I have got it right. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah. So welcome. How many years have you been an American Legion rider?
I have been an American Legion rider almost since the beginning of the Legion Rider program nationally.
Oh,
almost as long as I've been a part of the American Legion, which is, I think, 26 years right now.
oh my gosh. It's been, the riders have been around that long. And what got you started thinking you wanted to ride a motorcycle for the American Legion?
One of the guys in my district said, "You are joining the American Legion Riders," and he paid my dues for the first year, Larry Vetter. And and that was it. He knew that I rode motorcycle. I wore the back patch for the Christian Motorcycle Association.
Oh
And on
my.
my vest is the Legion Rider patch as well.
Okay. So you ride for two organizations then?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
And they kind of work together, it sounds like, so you can represent both when you're on your motorcycle?
You can only wear one back patch.
Okay.
And so I wear the back patch for the Christian Motorcycle Association. But I'm a member of both.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And so you have to choose who you're going to represent when you're out there.
Well, I represent both as I ride.
Yeah.
The motorcycle that I ride is a Harley Davidson Softail Slim. It's a military version.
Oh my.
And it looks very similar to the World War II Harley Davidson, but it has twice the power and too much power for me as an old 70 years old.
The motorcycle is 70 years old?
I am.
You are.
I am. And I have,
okay.
I'm pushing, from all the time that I've ridden motorcycle, right around 300,000 miles on motorcycle alone.
Okay. Are you going to keep going?
Yes. Yep. I have my Softail Slim, and I also have a Harley Davidson Tri-Glide, which is a trike. So I think that'll keep me riding for a while.
Okay.
Yep.
There's a transition I heard in there for you of one to the other.
There is a strange transition going from two wheels to three. The motorcycle drives differently, but it's the destination. It's where the bike takes me, the people that I get an opportunity to meet, and it's just been so much fun. And we cross lanes with in North Dakota. We have the in-country Vietnam veterans, which I've also ridden with. I've also ridden with the Sons of Silence, which is a 1% group in the motorcycle community.
Okay.
Many years ago, the American Motorcycle Association said that 99% of bikers were law-abiding citizens. That's me.
Okay.
But there are people that say, no, we're the 1%.
Okay.
That we are not law-abiding citizens. And God has opened the door for me to have some very close friends with the Sons of Silence. And I'm thankful for that.
Oh, I'm actually speaking to, for many of you that don't know, Reverend Mark Antel, and he was the National American Legion chaplain in 21-22 or
22-23.
22-23. And so how long was that process before you became the National American Legion chaplain for you?
Well, the state of North Dakota
Mm-hmm.
put my name forward, so it's generated by the department, and that goes to national headquarters, and they
Mm-hmm.
put you in a list.
Okay.
And that list, Kelley, took about, I think it was about 8 years when they first said, "Okay, I'm in the queue, I'm in the list,"
Mm-hmm.
until I was picked up for that.
Okay.
And generally, it's 10 to 12 years back for some reason.
Oh,
A lot of people who desire to be the national chaplain. It's not something that I pursued, but my department asked if I would consider doing it.
it's
And
quite a.
it was enjoyable. Yeah,
Was it?
yeah.
Did,
It's
did
a
you?
one year
Mm-hmm.
commitment,
Okay.
so it's not all that heavy. Um, I can talk about the things that I did if you like.
Oh,
Um,
that would be lovely. Thank you.
okay. Part of the national chaplain's duty is to sit on the dais in front of the National Executive Committee, and each session we open with prayer. For God and Country is our motto for the American
Mm-hmm.
Legion, and
Mm-hmm.
so on that dais is the national commander, the national adjutant, the national treasurer, uh, and then our national staff judge advocate and the chaplain, which is really cool to be up there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's in the large meeting where the National Executive Committee meets in Indianapolis at our national headquarters. Um, there is at least one person there from every department, and so quite often there's a desk for that seats two, so we could have 106 people sitting on the floor, and
Mm-hmm.
then around there's several people that are presenters or guests that are part of the American Legion. Um, so I began my duty at the end of uh, at the National Convention in Milwaukee in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
and right away they put me to work. I think it was 2 weeks later, I
Uh-huh.
had a video conference that was to be with all of the department chaplains
Uh-huh.
from around the United States, auxiliary sons of the American Legion, and then also American Legion department chaplains.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was an instruction time. It was about an hour and a half that I prepared for. And that opened up the door to meet several different chaplains from around the United States. Um, it was every department chaplain was invited, but not all picked up.
Oh,
I'm not sure why.
sure.
Uh, Lack of communication. I don't. I don't know.
Right.
Um, then I went to my first National Executive Committee meeting in the fall, then to the Washington Conference in Washington, D.C., opened
Mm-hmm.
up several meetings there with prayer, um, had opportunity to meet all of the Samsung awardees. They have 10 young people from
Mm-hmm.
around the country who are nominated by the American Legion and receive a $10,000 scholarship. And just outstanding young people.
Mm.
Um, then, while I was still there, February 28th, I had the opportunity to open the United States Congress with prayer.
Oh my.
And that's something that was set up by our folks in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
We have a section of people that are lobbyists specifically for the American Legion
Mm-hmm.
and help us stay in touch with our legislative branch. Uh, then from there was the spring NEC meeting. After that was a trip back to Washington, D.C. for Boys Nation.
Mm.
And there again, I had opportunity to lead a worship service, met with 100 boys from every department. From every department, there were 100 boys, or excuse me, from the entire American Legion, we had 100. And just outstanding young men.
Mm.
Really fun to be a part of that. Along with that week, I was able to be with the national commander as we presented a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Mhm.
Um, had the privilege to visit a gravesite of a friend of mine that's buried at Arlington.
Mm.
Um, then the national convention in Milwaukee, and there we opened every session with prayer,
Mhm.
and that was really quite amazing to be a part of that whole process.
Mhm.
There again, you sit on the dais up in front of everyone,
Mhm.
and from every department, they're watching you,
Right.
and part of what I did, Kelley, is I from each of those meetings, whether it was at the NEC in Indianapolis or our national convention,
Mhm.
before I'd get there early and just walk around and visit with people.
Mhm.
I am an introvert. I don't know about you.
Oh.
I'm an introvert. I would rather ride motorcycle all by myself. I'd rather
Uh-huh.
fish a stream all by myself.
Sure.
And yet God places things before us,
Mhm.
and I have to go.
Right.
So one of the things that stood out for me, and I kind of hesitate to share this, but I'm going to anyway,
Okay.
if it's okay.
Sure.
Uh, the last night of the national convention, I had nothing to do. There was nothing on my schedule. I was free. My wife had already flown back here to Minneapolis, where we live. And a block and a half away the from our hotel where we stayed was a cigar bar.
Mhm.
So I was Chaplain incognito, went into the cigar bar, ordered a local beer
Uh-huh.
and a $20 cigar,
Uh-huh.
and I sat in an overstuffed chair talking with a bunch of other men,
Mhm.
more listening. And next to me was a large black man who was just so fun to visit with. And finally he turned to me and he said, "Well, sir, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm a minister." And he said, "Me too." And we talked about our two different denominations
Uh-huh.
and what we did. We're both historians. Um, he was a part of the African Methodist Episcopalian Church,
Uh-huh.
and just really fun to visit with. And then he asked me about my family
Uh-huh.
and said, "Well, Mark, how long you've been married?" And I said, 46 years. And that's when the conversation got serious. And he said, "How did you do that?"
Mm.
And I said, "Well, my wife and I are, my wife is very forgiving."
Mhm.
And then he said, "I'm not living at home right now.
Oh.
My wife and my little baby girl are living at home and I'm not there." And we talked for quite a while. And finally, I just said, "Do you have a senior pastor you can talk to?" And he said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "Tell him what's going on, confide in him, and here's my card. You call me, text me, email me." I don't know if he lost the card or just thought, I don't want to talk to that guy.
Mhm.
But God opened up that door. Here I am,
Mhm.
the American Legion chaplain,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I'm just out to have a cigar.
Right.
And God says, "Nope, not tonight. Yes, smoke your cigar, but I got somebody you need to talk to. And over the course of my life, Kelley, and I'm sure it's happened with you too, as a pastor and counselor, that people just are, for the lack of another term, just dumped in your lap. God brings them to you and he says, here you go.
Here you go. I need you to listen.
Yes.
Yeah. You bring up the very point of the isolation piece. And as humans, we're always searching for safety. We're always searching for someone to hear us because we know we're valuable, right? Like
Yeah.
he knew he was of value and he's struggling. And somehow you two found each other at a cigar bar. And I'm always surprised at how God can place you in these unexpected places if you listen.
Right.
Like for some reason, I'm prompted to go to a cigar bar. I have no reason why, but here I go. And then you find out it's spiritual work. You're doing the work of God, and it is an ordained time of connection. That's beautiful.
And I was a department chaplain for many years. I am right now too for North Dakota. And every convention I would go to, some soldier would come up to me, some individual. And one that sticks out in my mind, there are several, but one man who was a World War II veteran said, Chaplain, can I talk to you? Sure.
Right.
And he took me off to a corner that was quiet. And he said, I've never told anybody this. What a sacred opportunity that we have to serve.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. We carry a lot of suffering. And I think that you have to have a relationship with God to be able to release the things that are given to us.
It's such a sacred opportunity to hear sometimes confession, which I've heard, sometimes to hear the story that somebody just needs to release. Sometimes they're sent to me. As an Army chaplain, I had people that were sent to me and didn't really want to talk to me at first.
Right.
But, all we can do is be that listening ear, as you mentioned. And
I think in our culture today, there's such a need to fix things. We have to have a plan and have to have a goal. And then you have a chaplain who is not there to fix anything, is just simply there to receive what you have to give, trusting that there's this third party in that conversation, and it's valuable. And I think we're all searching for that. We just want to know we're safe with somebody.
Right. And that's part of the battle within me because I'm a fixer.
Are you?
I want to fix.
Yeah.
But to sit still and listen, to let somebody unload, and not cast any kind of judgment.
Oh, yes.
On what that person is going through, because almost every occasion I'm not there. Like my friend, I've been married for 46 years. I've never been separated from my wife except when the Army dragged me off and spent my first anniversary in basic training. Yeah.
She did forgive you.
Oh, she's forgiven me. Yeah, it's taken a long time.
There's a gift of forgiveness, though, isn't there? It releases you to be free of who God has designed you to be and is working on you. Yeah. You bring up so many spiritual elements of who we are as human beings. They just kind of roll right off of you. You're talking about challenging yourself of being someone that you're normally not. In your comfort zone, you'd rather be by yourself, but you know that there's more. That connection piece, the community, listening, and then trust. You keep bringing up trust. because you're there for a moment and then you're gone. And then you just have to trust that God's got them.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was an interesting thing that happened at Arlington
Uh-huh.
the day that we went with Boys Nation. I'm with the national commander, and this guy that was not a part of our group followed us all the way from the gate. It's probably a 15-minute walk or so up the hill to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Mm.
And I see this guy walking around talking to different ones, and then finally he comes over to me and he says, "Hi, I'm a servant of God, and I'm supposed to talk to you."
Oh my.
And he said, "I want to go and lay hands on the tomb of the unknown soldier and pray."
Okay.
And I said, "Well, that's not within my ability to let you do that, because no one is allowed to touch the tomb of the unknown soldier."
Mm-hmm.
It's been for many years now that no one has been able to approach that. There's the platform where the guards are at, where they march back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
They're guarding the tomb so that people cannot just come up and deface or do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, you know what, that's out of my authority.
Mm-hmm.
And I took him to the guard door where the tomb and the guards of the unknown soldier reside.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, ring the bell here, and one of the guards will come out and they'll chat with you. But I don't have that kind of authority to do that.
Right.
And there are things in our ministry as well, is that we don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to help people,
Yeah.
but we need to find that one who can help them.
Yeah.
I had Native American soldiers getting ready to go to Iraq, and they said, "Well, Chaplain Antel, can you help us? We want to have a sweat lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Can we put one up on post here at Camp Grafton?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "That's out of my authority, but I know a guy."
Mm-hmm.
And I knew John Chasky, who was the spiritual leader at the Spirit Lake Reservation.
Mm-hmm.
And I connected with John,
Mm-hmm.
and we were able to get our soldiers to a sweat lodge and spend time with them. John invited me into the sweat lodge, and I said, "It's not for me. It's for them."
Yeah.
But finding that person, and there again, God directs the right ones to come our way to help meet the needs of the people that are before us.
Yeah, in the Army or in the military, I think I was always told, you provide or you perform. So
Sure.
you're either providing that resource or you're performing that resource, which is a little different than in the role as you're ordained, the reverend piece. The chaplain piece is you have the spiritual care for all of the individuals that are within your purview or within your scope. And so provide or perform, because you could have Buddhists, you could have Hindus, atheists, pagans. There's all these, I think there's over 200 and some religions and philosophies that the Department of Defense recognizes. It's grown, doubled a few years ago. And then the chaplains, as well as the American Legion chaplain, is to provide or perform to a large degree. It's like we don't discriminate anyone on any religion or sex or skin color. We are an organization that recognizes and respects all.
Yes. Under the Constitution of the United States, we are that stopgap to help people worship God as they see fit, or not worship God, worship something.
Yeah. Yes.
Or not worship. We can't force people to know God.
No, that's not in our lane.
No. But what is in my lane is to know my God and spend time
Yep.
understanding who God is and how He wants to use me.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
learned the phrase. I appreciate provider or perform.
Mm-hmm.
We had cooperation without compromise.
Okay.
That we would cooperate with other chaplains of different faiths,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that would involve other soldiers as well, but not to compromise my own faith.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's very important as we look at helping people in their faith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things, it was a learning curve for me. I come from a Baptist General Conference background. And so, learning who I am and who my God is, and developing that relationship and being open to where God is going to lead me, but then being able to walk alongside other individuals and with different faith groups or none whatsoever, was challenging, because what I have found in today's world is, like, sometimes we're always marketing ourselves. We're always, one commercial away from trying to convert you to buy our product, if you will.
Yeah.
And chaplains really walk that line of representing their faith, but they're not selling it. That's not in my lane to sell anything, but
Yes.
to be open to the prompting, which I think is different. And I think it's sometimes, as human beings, we kind of struggle with who we can be and what we offer to the world.
Yes, and that's really challenging, especially when we're called upon to pray
Mm-hmm.
at an opening meeting. And so
Right.
what I did is I was given a journal
Uh-huh.
from some very dear friends uh, as a gift as I began as national chaplain, and I wrote down my prayers. Um, I usually have free prayers,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to pray through my prayer, think it out clearly, and have something written down so that if someone would say, "Well, Mark, you said the name of Jesus."
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, this is what I said. An interesting thing about the
Oh.
National Executive Committee, every word that is said is written down, and it's
Oh.
recorded for posterity. I
Mm-hmm.
have the journals from when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then, you're in national meetings, and we want to be careful not to um, separate somebody,
Mm-hmm.
to offend them,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but still represent God. And I think that's where the challenge comes. But
Mm-hmm.
also, as I've had people praying for me, I know
Mm-hmm.
that there are many people prayed for me during that year and are
Mm-hmm.
now today. Um, that God has helped me to formulate prayers and thoughts that I think were right and true, and I could be proud about.
Yeah. I've learned over the years I'm not as smart as I think I was. Um, there's things that'll come to me, like, I'm like, I didn't think of that. That was not a Kelley thought. That was a gift, that I can definitely share. Some of the prayers that come from me, and I will hear that they touched people. I'm like, that wasn't my prayer. That was God's prayer. I'm just really just a
Hmm.
vessel sometimes. Um, and the older I get, the more I learn that there's so much I don't know. And there's so much just to be thankful for. And
Hmm.
chaplains to me I'm always just thankful that the American Legion recognized the value of who we are as spiritual beings, that unknowing, that mystery, that transcendent element, and that it was important for healing. I mean, you're talking to war vets and to veterans in general, um, and the healing piece. that that relationship that individuals have with who their God is and how that can be edifying to us to continue to do what we need to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a really difficult session with the National Executive Committee.
Mm-hmm.
There was some disciplinary action that needed to be taken, and it was painful for everyone.
Mm.
And we are a family in the
Yeah.
American Legion. Every section, whether it's Legion Riders, the Auxiliary, the Sons of the American Legion, or Legionnaires ourselves, that we are a family. And when discipline takes place on one level, it affects all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure how to close out that session. And I was thinking about it during the night before when things were really so difficult. And a hymn came to me, the hymn Day by Day. And with each passing moment, strength I find to meet my journey's end. And I sang that. I think maybe for the first time ever, um, a benediction was sung rather than spoken.
Mm.
And I did close with the benediction as well. But so many people just said, Chaplain, that's what I needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Carr, who was the national chaplain today, he met with me afterwards and he said, nope, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not singing.
And it wasn't long after that. And you might remember when I met with the Minnesota Year Department Convention, I
Uh-huh.
couldn't sing. And I don't know if you remember that. And I went
Mm-hmm.
through a time when I absolutely could not sing. Emotions. There
Mm-hmm.
was something that happened that it took me several months to sing again. I would sing alone, but I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't sing in church. I was asked to sing solos or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do it.
Musicians know that music, the activity of music is one of the only activities that combines your left and right brain,
Okay. Yeah.
right? And so it's one of those activities where you bring all of your experiences, the things that you're trying to hide into this moment. They become exposed, especially if you're in a place of despair or suffering or anguish and there's a
hmm
sad song. You can't hide it. Those emotions are going to come right out.
I'm a quarter Irish, so the Irish really comes out of me.
What
And
does
we've
that
done
mean?
many of our family gatherings that we're either singing, we're drinking, we're dancing, or we're fighting, and sometimes all at
All
the
of them?
same time. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my family.
that's okay. I think the ripeness, right, is how do one of the things that people told me about that they really appreciate about you, Mark, is that you're relatable. You're a writer. You're approachable, and that's a gift for the rest of us to be a part of. And so I thank you for that. And are you wearing the North Dakota hat by any chance?
I am.
Okay. And Courtney Steffen, is she North Dakota? The commander is at South Dakota.
I think that would be South Dakota.
Yep.
Clarence Carroll is the commander for North
Okay.
Dakota.
I didn't recognize the symbol. Is it a flower?
The prairie rose,
The
the
prairie
state flower
rose.
for North Dakota.
It's very pretty. And so they have got you, and they're probably going to keep you as long as they possibly can.
Well, this is, I think it's my 8th commander that I've served.
Mm-hmm.
And I see my main obligation as a department chaplain is to pray for the department commander.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And as the national chaplain, I told our commander, Jim Turiola, I said,
Mm-hmm.
sir, I pray for you every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And that has meant a lot to the commanders that I've served. And it's something that God has just opened up my heart to be able to help people with. And so being relatable, I hope so. I hope that I'm a person who's approachable. But yes, just coming alongside people.
Yeah.
Um, so this June, I'm going to trade in my cap,
Okay.
and my name is in the ring to be National Executive Committee Chairman alternate.
NEC alternate in North Dakota.
Yes.
Okay.
Just I enjoyed so much visiting with the people from the different departments,
Mm-hmm.
and I see what it is just so amazing when you travel around the United States and you
Uh-huh.
see all these little villages we go through and the big towns,
Yeah.
all the different legion halls that are out there, and
Mm-hmm.
the hundreds of thousands of legionnaires that you and I represent
Mm-hmm.
wherever we go. It's such a joy and privilege.
It is a privilege. The fabric of America is so diverse. And then we rally around our mission statement and our preamble. And we all have the same values that we're serving for.
Yes.
It's so beautiful. But then, the diversity. Yeah. Which I didn't want to lose sight of the discipline of prayer or meditation for some. Because chaplains represent, to a large degree, a lot of activity that isn't always front and center in people's faces, but knowing that your chaplain is praying in their own way, in their time every single day, that connection with each other is something that is so religious and spiritual, that community piece, that somebody's got my back, and then I'm connecting with this God, and I just have to trust all of that. That's huge. I know for me, letting people know that I'm praying for them, quietly. Yep. We don't make much fanfare about it. You don't do that. That's not the goal of it, because your heart, what is the goal of what you're doing, guides you. So if your goal is to lift people up in prayer for the benefit of God's healing power, you don't really need to advertise it, do you?
No. I remember being with a friend in North Dakota who was a Lakota Native American, and we prayed together. And she prayed in the Lakota language, and that was just so awesome to be able to be together and hear a different language, to hear someone approaching God in a different way that I'm used to. And it's okay. It's better than okay. Yeah.
You have to be open for it, though, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to recognize. For me, it was just recognizing that I'm not in charge of salvation.
Nope.
Nope. That's not my lane. And I know so little about God's working in this universe. And so learning my place for me has always been kind of my growth edge. It's like, know your place, Kelley.
Yeah, and it's hard. God opens up doors like he did in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I want to be ready for that. I remember walking with a friend from our hotel
Mm-hmm.
up to national headquarters. He had lost his son through suicide.
Oh.
And he said, Mark, I believe in God and I believe in heaven, but I just don't get, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's all right. Welcome to my world.
Right.
I don't get it all either. And a man came to Jesus and said, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief.
Help my
We,
unbelief.
we can't see the whole picture, but God opens up windows at just the
Mm-hmm.
right time if we're listening.
Yeah. One of the roles of being a chaplain in the American Legion is to help others in their spiritual growth, and then
Yeah.
to remind of us of God's transcendent power in our world. And that can be done through many ways.
And I think that's what you're doing right now, Kelley, with this podcast. Hopefully people are going to tune in and hear what's happening and say, hey, yeah, I need to connect.
Yeah, we're uncomfortable in our country talking about, to me, what is the most foundational element of being a human being is, what do I believe about myself, about what's out there, and where am I going to go? What kind of purpose do I have? We're uncomfortable about it. And I think we're suffering for it on many different levels. And then the whole consumer world, where I'm a consumer. And then that judgment comes into that consumer model where I'm always judging the
Mm-hmm.
quality of an interaction. And so I think that displaces the transcendent mystery of who we are, or it ignores it. And I think it's time that we bring that piece back into, or bring it into the conversation, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a richness to being a human being of struggling that we always, what I found with soldiers in the military is, you struggle differently at different periods of your time. The young struggle differently than the seasoned soldier, if you will. They're different struggles.
Sure.
But reminding people that tomorrow is a different day. And what can you do today? And can you allow that struggle to inform you of who you are? What does that struggle represent? I have really enjoyed getting to know you more, Mark. Rider season's coming up. When does it kick off?
It has.
Oh, it has.
I've been on my motorcycle already.
Okay.
My trike is still up in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, at my friend's garage. Spent the
Okay.
winter up there. But there are quite a few bikes that are out. At my age, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait till all the crud is off the road. We get a nice gully washer to wash the salt and the little sand off the road.
Okay.
Sand can be really dangerous for motorcyclists. You can lose control, especially in the curves. So, but there are a lot of bikes that are out. I did go to an event, and I got there and I stepped back and I looked at my license plate. All motorcycle license are renewed in February.
Oh.
And I forgot to do that.
Oh.
So I was riding without proper license. The next day I took care of it.
Oh my gosh. Are you connected at all in Minnesota with the riding?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I understand that Apple Valley
Mm-hmm.
has a really good Legion Rider program.
They do. They do. And our director, Jody Hassing, is our department commander, Hassing's spouse. And so she's very active in planning where the rides are going to be, and this year we're raising money for our 85 fund, which supports homeless and veterans in Minnesota that really just need some kind of financial assistance in an emergency. And so just know that if you join up, that's what we're going to be raising money for this year.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'll probably keep my membership in North Dakota with the Legion Riders, as well as my department membership. But I want to connect and be involved here at home too. I'm busy right now.
Are you retired or are you working?
I have failed at retirement, Kelley. I'm preaching 2 Sundays a month in a church.
Okay.
I'm in the office right now.
Okay.
I'm putting in 10 hours a week, which often turns into 20.
Sure.
So yeah, and then I have a seminarian that I'm going to be mentoring this summer. So yeah, I failed at retirement.
You're fine. Yeah, it's okay. What would you be doing if you were retired? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
We have grandkids that live a mile away, and so they're always looking for rides here and there or something to do, and which is always fun.
Okay. Well, can I pray for you before we close out?
I would love that. Thank you.
Thank you. God, I thank you that you give each one of us and hardwire each one of us with specific passions, personalities, characters, and opportunities. I thank you for Chaplain Mark, Antal, and his wife and his family, and the opportunities and the experiences that you have set forth in front of him. I would ask for his health, for the opportunities that you're going to be presenting him in the future. I thank you that he is an American Legion rider, and I thank you for the opportunities of compassion and service that riding provides. Thank you for this podcast and for the blessing that you have placed upon it, and I hope that that blessing will continue. Amen.
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 Kelley, thank you.
Thank you.
You are my sister. You are my friend and fellow Legionnaire. Appreciate it.